What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of John Street Hockey. I, of course, am the mayor of John Street, Sean Campbell, and I'm joined by a very special guest, great friend of mine, owner, CEO, big boss man of one of the best upcoming sports networks in Philadelphia, Olde City Sports Network, and that is the Admiral, Jesse Bell. Jesse, how we doing, brother?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on. An honor with
Absolutely.
the mayor.
100%, man. The Admiral and the Mayor. We've been trying to get this together for a long time. I'm glad we finally got it going. So let's just dive into it. Everybody sees the title of the episode. It's Ice Wars. What? I am all the way in. Just from the title, just from the name, I'm all the way in. Let's go ahead and dive into Ice Wars, what it is, what it's all about, and how Old City's kind of getting a tie in there.
Yeah, so Ice Wars is something that I don't know. I can't really dive into the CEO. His name's Charlie, but he's a really good friend of Frank Bialowis. I've grown to be very close with Frank over the past 4 years. He's been on Flyers Alley. He's been a really big advocate for Flyers Alley and Old City Sports Network. And he actually got a phone call one day from both of them on the phone, and uh, Frank said, "Hey, Charlie, this is my guy Jesse. Really good friends with him. Kind of running things over, and I don't want to say like Philadelphia, but he's got a really good show, Flyers Alley, and he's got this network with all these podcasts and such on it. I think this is your guy." And I had absolutely no idea what the fuck they were talking about. Um, I was like, Frank, yeah. So what's this about? And he's like, it's fights on ice, Jess. And obviously, I mean, I'm from Philly. We know how much we love our enforcers, especially Bialowis. I mean, he's growing up. He was my idol. Um, I love my fighters. So he kind of told me the idea is basically going to be they're getting lists together. They're letting people actually. They have an email address. I have. If people want it, if people listening want to, hit me up, message me. I have an email that you can actually register to be a fighter. I don't think there's any prerequisites or anything. You just kind of gotta skate and know what to
And
do.
know how to skate and be tough as nails.
I'm telling you right
Um,
now, man. These guys are no fucking joke, dude. These guys they're Canadian boys. They're not fucking around.
For sure. And like I don't know if you saw the Ice Guardians documentary on
It's my
Netflix, but
favorite one, man.
when they
Favorite one.
talk about the way that some of these guys train their fists
Oh,
to not break their hands punching buckets of metal BBs and sand and stuff like that to train their hands. So you mentioned your network, Old City Sports, and we got a couple of our friends here, Jess Hess and Frankie James, checking in. Um, they just wanted to say hi. I'm sure they're tuning in, watching with bated breath. So like you
great team.
said, man, Philadelphia I mean, we love dirty, gritty, hard nosed hockey, and we absolutely love our enforcers. Hell, I think I could probably name more enforcers than I can guys off of the 2004 team that lost to Tampa Bay there.
I
So
could definitely do that as well.
100%. Well, especially with me being so young too. Like I kind of wasn't really into my full blown hockey fandom in 2004 either. But I could tell you about enforcers from the fucking 80s if I really had to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Um, that's just hard nosed hockey. That's what we're all about here in Philadelphia. So Ice Wars is going to be like a bare knuckle prize fighting on the ice thing.
Nah. So I have my reservations about what I think I thought it should be after I heard kind of the rules and kind of how it's being done. But at the same time, AJ and Charlie are really they know what they're doing. They're putting it together where it could be literally not the Coliseum, but to a 2022 standard. It's going to be 2 1-minute rounds. Um, TKO and knockout end the fight. Obviously, that's who you get as the winner. Um, they have to drop the gloves to initiate the fight. Underneath of the gloves, they're going to be UFC style gloves.
Okay.
They have to keep their bucket on all the time. They can't take their helmet off. No like hair pulling, eye gouging, kicking. The deal.
Absolutely.
the stuff
Kind
that
of the
they,
unwritten rules in hockey fighting anyway, for the most part, at least in the modern era.
yeah, pretty much. It's basically not the. It's yeah. If you have to question yourself, you probably shouldn't do it. Um,
Yes,
but
Frankie, I am enjoying a nice cigar. I believe this is an Ashton. Good stick.
some of us have kids and we can't smoke them out. Unfortunately, I go out my car and rip one. Um, but Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. There's like weight classes too, which is pretty. I think the most interesting thing are the weight classes. Um, you got your cruiserweight, which is like a 190 to 205. You got your heavyweight, which is 205 to 220, and then you got your super heavyweight, which is 220 plus. So like this thing is really it's gonna be a big deal. I mean, you got guys. The main thing to me and anybody that knows me very well, anyone of my team on Old City Sports, is I really am an advocate for helping anybody out like ever. We do a bunch of events and such, and that being said, this is a big thing for life after hockey for these players. I mean, we grew up in the era of, like you said, Ice Guardians, and that the whole point of that documentary is, what the fuck am I supposed to do after hockey, and what am I supposed to do being an enforcer in a league that's literally making it extinct? And I think this may be the answer.
Absolutely, and a lot of these guys that are probably going to be jumping on this opportunity are guys that maybe didn't get that kind of that kind of time at the NHL level, and we've all heard the stories when you do get called up and you're in the NHL, you're blowing through the per diem because hey, I'm in the show, I'm going out with the boys because I'm in the show, I want to live the NHL lifestyle, and those guys are coming up on sometimes veteran minimum contracts or, professional tryouts that aren't necessarily paying them that well. And like you said, this will be a great opportunity for some of those guys to, not only get back out on the ice and showcase what they're good at, but it'll also be a great opportunity for them, like you said, life after hockey.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I'm not only, the host of Flyers Alley, I pay attention a lot to the league and the past things that have happened in the league. And I do pay attention to a lot of the former players like, Danny Carcillo had a rough go at it. Um, Zach Ronaldo and, has jumped around a substantial amount just because, I mean, what is his role supposed to be? I mean, when you have these people coming to work, it's like if I go to work one day and all of a sudden forklifts aren't a thing anymore and they have robots doing it, like what am I supposed to do? I'm a forklift operator. It's a big deal what the NHL is doing to these people, and they have to understand that. And I think AJ and his dad, Jimmy and Charlie and all the people that are involved in this thing, you know, it's Gino Olczek's involved in this. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, your judges are legitimately Frank Bialowis, um, Brad Wingfield, and John Morasti. So I mean,
Nasty Morasti, baby.
it's literally going to be out of control. I mean, but I mean, it's a big move. It's also a big for me at least. I don't know if that's the goal. It's a big movement for me. I love my enforcers, and I want them to be able to, have a life after hockey because especially now. I mean, think about Zach McEwen is one of my favorite players right now, and if you're in Philadelphia and you don't think that, you're out of your fucking mind. Um, it's what if he's 25 years old? What if he decides, hey, I kind of want to, I'm not sure, maybe I'm from a good upbringing of some sort. I don't need to really play hockey like that. Maybe I want to be 25 and be in a fucking fighting league. Then all of a sudden, all the younger guys are following him, like, "Hey, maybe we should do this, man. This is." And maybe now, all of a sudden, people that wanted to play that were like, "Hey, I'm more of an enforcer. Now I have a place to go. I don't have to go up through the ranks. Maybe I can go do that instead." There's so many options to this thing.
Absolutely. And speaking of options, our good buddy Frankie James is checking in here. He's got a great idea for the undercard of the first match. He's saying maybe we should host the Admiral versus a Delco crossing guard.
I don't know if you want to get into that. I'm willing, but
I take it there's some kind of a backstory there.
yeah. I was, I talked to Frankie most of the day. To be honest with you, I do most of my business on the forklift on my phone with like a headset on, kind of like talking to the players and talking to Charlie and AJ and all that. I talked to Frankie most of the day, just trying to set up what we're doing. And I was on my way home today, and uh, I was making a left, and there's a crossing guard, and he the kids that were about to cross weren't at the corner yet. So I didn't understand why he was completely blocking the street when the kids were half a block away. So I rolled down the window and gave him a little something. Told him I shove his sign up his ass, but Frankie
Well, at
got to
least the
sit.
kids were half a block away. They didn't have to hear that, right?
Hey, you gotta learn sometime, though.
That's the real world, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to to this thing taking off, and like you said, I think it's going to be huge here in Philadelphia, and I'm super excited for you guys for the opportunity that you guys are getting over there, Old City, working with AJ and Jimmy Galante here on this one, and I think it's going to be a great project and something I definitely look forward to helping out with any way that I can.
I will tell you this, and I mean this for the entire podcast community. Um, we're all sitting at the same table. We can all eat the same food. Some people don't think that way, but I'm telling you right now, this is going to impact all of us. There are certain people that it's not going to, um, and that's on them. But
Right.
this
Well, that's the
thing's
guys that
huge.
shut themselves out from the community. And to be honest with you, I was talking with somebody about this the other day. You bring up the everybody eats mantra. And, I got to tell you, I look at podcasting similar to the way people look at craft breweries. Nobody's trying to knock each other down. Nobody's trying to become Samuel Adams and be this gigantic brewing company. They collaborate, they encourage each other because they realize that they all have that same core customer base.
Right.
Much like us, we have that same core listener base, and if we can all collaborate and cross promote and cross pollinate, I think it helps everybody grow and helps make us all rich at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, that
If
would be.
nothing else, grow the game, and that's the main reason I got into this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I got into it as actually Flyers Alley used to have 5 people on it once. I'm actually not even the original host.
That's
Um,
got to be a gong show, huh? Five guys
yeah, it
all
was
talking
our first
sometimes.
our first episode was just regular headphones, no cool mics, no StreamYard, no cool stuff like that. It was literally a bunch of five fucking idiots. And our first episode was interviewing Bio Lawis. Um, it was an absolute shit show. And if you actually go onto our Spotify, you can't see any of those any of those episodes. Um, there's just I mean, it is what it is. You start out from somewhere, but I mean, it's
Absolutely.
it is what it is. I guess. I mean,
Yeah. Our first podcast, Kev didn't have a mic stand, so he had to set his microphone in a solo cup, and I think you can hear the echo coming off of the solo cup in that first episode. But we're all growing, we're all getting bigger together. Speaking of growing, there's a hockey team in the city of Philadelphia. I know it doesn't seem like it these days, but there is a hockey team, and they have some serious growing pains that they're going to have to go through.
you
I
want to
mean,
do
where do
this?
we
You want
even
to do
start?
this? You want to do this?
It's a hockey podcast. We're both hockey guys. I think we have to at this point. We owe it to the listeners. And this
Yeah,
is probably more entertaining than what's going on the ice most nights these days anyway.
I guarantee
Um,
you that.
I guess I got to start with, where do you stand on the whole rebuild retooling thing?
Let me just state before we get into this. I haven't done my actual show in a week, so I'm going through a little bit of withdrawal. Um, so unfortunately, you've just given me the platform. You
Glad I
got.
could help.
Yeah, I appreciate it. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that need to change here. Um, I've actually done a cool exercise with my network with the hockey people, because hockey's our deepest pool in the network. We do have other shows, but hockey is our deepest pool. You're the GM. You Claude Giroux waives his clause, and you're doing a fire sale. You're blowing it up. Who do you sell? Who do you send? Who are you getting in return? Cap, salary, everything's involved. Um, my honest opinion is, I'm going to tell you right now, there are players on this team there is a problem in the locker room again, and it's between I don't want to say the actual. Well, I'm going to say the actual names. Um, it's Giroux and the people that Giroux has been playing with for the past, I would say, 5 years, and it's Cam Atkinson and the other guys that have come in with him. And I think that there's a culture change that needs to happen here. Um, Cam Atkinson comes in, the newer guys come in, all the people that everyone was excited about. And if anybody tells me they weren't excited about it during the offseason and were praising Chuck Fletcher, you're a liar. Everybody was excited for it. Um, I think everybody was right about what was going to happen with Jones because that's happening right now. I think you have a two core group of guys that are really confused on what they're here to do. I think Giroux waives his clause. Giroux is gone at the trade deadline with Provorov. I think you need to put JVR on waivers, and regardless whether someone picks him up or he's just gone next year, like what happened with Ghost, that's something you should do. And that's a quote straight from Frankie James, which I agree with completely. And I think in the Giroux thing has to include Johnny Hockey coming back to Philadelphia, and with that package has to be Claude Giroux and Travis Konechny. Okay.
Now, I will say, as much as I would love to get Johnny Hockey back here, that also requires Giroux wanting to go there as well, because he does have that no movement clause. He kind of has a little bit of power and say in where he goes. And honestly, if I'm Claude Giroux right now, I don't know if I want to go to Calgary.
Well, I mean, so you're Claude Giroux. Where do you want to go? Calgary is on it. They have the key piece. They have key pieces to their team too. Johnny Hockey's actually not the biggest key piece to their team. That would be their goalie. They're
No, I agree. It's just, right now I haven't looked at the standings in a few days here, but last I remember, I believe they were on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs are concerned. I mean, if I'm G and I have a choice between going to Calgary, Colorado, Boston,
Colorado's in the talks.
yeah,
So
exactly. I've heard Colorado as well, and honestly, I think that's a team that could really benefit from him, and I think that's a team he would like to go to. I don't see him moving on unless he has a chance, for a deep playoff run here this year.
yeah, I agree with you. And honestly, that's what I mean. That's what I would do, and what I would want to happen in a perfect world. But at the same time, you have to think about. So what would we get? What player on their team are they willing to give us that would be worth it to us for Claude Giroux?
Well, that depends on what direction you want to go with this thing. If you're going more of the retooling method, I mean, yeah, you bring in a roster player, maybe a prospect, and a low draft pick. But if you're looking to rebuild this thing, ripping the drywall off the studs, frame off restoration type thing, I think you trade them for, maybe two quality prospects and say a first rounder.
So yeah, I mean, you could go that route. You could also go the route of do you really want to? I mean, don't you, the problem is that this has been a huge issue for a long time, and I think that when you traded Voracek, you got like rid of half the problem because the fan base is very ignorant in believing that these players are something that they're not. Claude Giroux and Jake Voracek weren't goal scorers; they're playmakers. So like when it's like automatically when the fan base hears the these names and these big sexy names and these players and such, they automatically think that they're just here to score goals, and that's not the case. I mean,
No, not at all.
and when you get rid of Voracek and now he's doing exactly what he was brought in to do here in Columbus. I mean, he's got plenty of assists in Columbus now, um, and Giroux's still here. And I mean, I'm not a huge Claude Giroux fan. Like I don't hate him, but I think he needs to change the venue. And to be honest with you, the trade that makes sense to me would be a trade for Johnny Hockey at TK to there for that, because I mean that's what I would want. But I mean it has to be a trade of that caliber. You can't just trade Claude Giroux for draft picks. It's just
For sure. Now, with that being said, I can kind of just from that I can kind of judge where you're at. So you're more towards like the hard retool, maybe like a 2-3 year like a soft rebuild almost, not necessarily tearing it down all the way.
I would say a hard retool to the fact that you're going to see results next season. If I don't. How long? I mean, I think we've been in a rebuild since 2010. I mean,
No,
what's? I
100% we
mean,
have been.
no one's pulled the trigger and said that we're doing it. I mean, JVR has been back and forth. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And I think if you get rid of Giroux and you get rid of TK, you do have players like Morgan Frost is not a bust. I know a lot of people say he's a bust. I wasn't a big Morgan Frost fan to begin with. I don't think he's a bust. I think he's waiting for his opportunity to do what he was drafted to do. Zamula comes up because I think Provorov is on his way out at the trade deadline too. Because I've heard that from pretty reliable sources that he's involved. And I think it is. And to be honest with you, I think Couturier has to go. I mean, he's not. What good is he to us on the IR? What good is Ellis to us on the IR? You got to
Right.
pull the trigger. And the city has a very, very, very big problem with
Hanging on to players.
getting way too attached to players.
Absolutely. And you see that across the sports in Philadelphia. I mean, the Eagles held on to some guys from that Super Bowl team a little bit too long. Some of the 2004 guys stuck around a little bit too long. Yeah, I mean, oh, here we go. Frankie's jumping in. Of course, he says to waive JVR. And then earlier on, he's saying that you have to get a draft pick, first, a second, and a player, and the prospect. I think that's a little bit of a high asking
That's a
price
lot.
considering he's got 1 year left on his deal. Um, but so I'm kind of in between. I feel like there's something in between a rebuild and a retool that kind of works. So I think everybody's for sale except for a core group of younger players. You know, I as far as I'm concerned, your untouchables are Joel Farabee, Cam York, and Carter Hart. Pretty much everybody else is for sale.
Okay.
You mentioned trading Couturier there. Now, obviously, they're not going to trade everybody else, but those are the guys that are for sale. Couturier is a guy that I could absolutely see us moving on from. As much as I love him, he's probably my favorite Flyer over the last 10 years or so. But you got to remember, he's a guy as young as he is that's been playing at the NHL level since he was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of long, hard miles on that body of his, shutting down Evgeny Malkin in the playoffs when he's 19 years old.
Bergeron.
I mean, he's played a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
And we're not even into the extension yet. So, I mean, that's a guy. I mean, yeah, he's somebody that could definitely go to another team, help them in the next year, 2 or 3, and bring us some assets back for the future.
Is Giroux.
I think Giroux is a candidate for. Sorry, I got the damn dogs.
Hey man, I got them too. You're not hurting my feelings at all. I got human animals running around up there.
There we go. I clicked the mic off while they were yapping.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all good, Zach. All right. Where was I?
Is Giroux the player? Is Giroux going to go to a team and make a difference? Like, are they going to go to? Are they whatever team he goes to? Are they going on a run?
I don't think Giroux is a guy that's going to take a team like Calgary on a run, but I think he's a guy that can go to a team that's already poised for a run and put them over the top.
I would say my Calgary thing is kind of what I want to happen. I would see him going to Colorado maybe.
Right. Yeah, I kind of pulled that one because it was relevant. We were just talking about him.
That's the biggest rumor that I've heard that's still lingering around. Like when you're in the you listen to the guys in the media and such. You kind of the things that you hear the most are usually the ones that end up kind of happening. So that's the one that I've heard the most. I mean, there was stuff about him going to New York. That happened for a day and that was gone literally the next day.
Yeah, I don't see them trading him in division.
Nah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would say, and the thing about getting rid of the people like JVR's got to go because of that salary kill is just that's absolutely ridiculous. He's not worth a dime of that. He's just not doing it. He can score his little tip-in goals all whatever he wants, but I mean,
right at the end of the day, Zach McEwen can screen a goalie and get a couple of lucky goals too.
Zach McEwen needs to be on the
for
second
a whole
line.
lot fucking cheaper.
Zach McEwen needs to be on the second line, flat out,
I agree. For
flat out.
no other reason than the fact that he's been laying it out on the line all season, and he's got the effort. And you know what? I don't care if you have all the skill in the world. If you got effort, you can will the guys on your line into performing. It's just plain and simple.
I'm a,
Lead by example.
I'm a big advocate for the grinders, like your Patrick Browns, your Zach McEwens. I'm a huge, I don't, and everyone hates me for this, but it is what it is. Nate Thompson, huge Nate Thompson fan. Um, you know, why wouldn't you put Zach McEwen on the second? You have Jerry Mayhew on was it the third line, the second line, whatever it is? Okay, well, why wouldn't you put him down? Why wouldn't you put Zach McEwen on the second line? It doesn't make sense
Yeah,
to
I
me.
saw your tweet about that the other day. It just didn't make any fucking sense. Like
Nah, it doesn't.
none.
And even tonight, so they made the move to move up Linus Sandine and Connor Bunneman, who also I'm a big fan of Connor Bunneman. Um, and then Felix Sandstrom to the taxi squad. Yeah, so Jones is going to the Phantoms, and
As he
you
should.
you got to use now. Now you're at the point. Now, are they going to come back? No, they're not, and everyone knows that it's time to come back to reality. Unless you're the Warlock and you just love every player and get stuck in a elevator with them sniffing their hair every 10 seconds. Um, the problem is that you need to use the reality of the situation now is you need to use this as a preseason for the next preseason. Start bringing up the kids that you're gonna be playing. You make these trades, bring up the kids that are gonna be the future of this team. It is what it is. You got the guys up here that could teach them. Like Nate Thompson, you have him for cheap. He's a vet. I'm a big advocate for Derek Brassard as well. You got these good veteran presence that could actually help these kids play. I know everyone hates Yandel, but the reason they brought Yandel in is and this is a little people pay attention to the little details. They brought Yandel in to keep the locker room lively. So why would you need someone to come make the locker room lively if there wasn't a problem in the locker room?
No, for sure. I can definitely see that. They also brought him in to quarterback the power play, and of course, AV
They haven't been
fucking
doing
took
that.
him off of the power
Yeah,
play
it's
to start the season, and Mike Yo hasn't been playing him that much on the power play either.
yeah.
Which is funny because you go back to the press conference where they introduced Mike Yo as the interim coach, and Chuck Fletcher is trying to hammer it home that Mike Yo is a tactician and he pays attention to the deep details. Yeah, okay, you can pay attention to the deep details and be a tactician all you want, but at the end of the day, when you have guys that are giving you effort and you're burying them on the third and fourth line and you're letting the same guys that are just kind of lumbering around out there and lazily skating on your first and second line because they know this team's not going anywhere and you're allowing that to continue, maybe you're looking too much into the into the more minute details and you're not looking at what's in front of you. And I don't know. This I just feel like we have such a long way to go between coaching, player personnel. It's just
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a whole nother. I mean, that whole conversation with, excuse me, who they're going to be bringing in. I mean, imagine being Mike Yo right now. I mean, last night I was in the post game press conference, and Charlie O'Connor asks him a question about. Literally says, why have the Flyers, the lack of energy, is that the reason why they haven't been winning? And Mike Yoke snaps right back and says, Charlie, you're wrong. One, they do have energy. If there's anything we have had, it's been energy. Imagine being Mike Yo and just literally being thrown into this dumpster fire
yep.
and just not knowing what to do. I mean, and that goes back with my thing about everybody wants Rick Tocchet to come in. I don't want Rick Tocchet to come in because I'm not in the market of literally torching a Flyers legend and one of my favorite players for this team. I'm not in the market of torching him when the fan base and the media decides that they're not satisfied with his coaching, and then all of a sudden everybody hates Rick Tocchet.
Right. I'm not going to allow Rick Tocchet to come in here and be a sacrificial lamb and be put on a cross as a martyr,
Because
similar to
that's
what we
what's going
did
to
with
happen.
Berube.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. That's absolutely what's going to happen. I mean,
Absolutely. And not for nothing, I don't think Tocchet really wants to come to Philly right now anyway. I mean,
Well,
if
he
you're
has to
Rick
finish
Tocchet
out
right now,
his
you
TNT thing. So I mean,
exactly, and he's got a great deal going on with TNT. And I mean, if you're going to break that TNT deal and you're going to break that contract where you got a pretty good gig on TV, I mean, you're not spending, long nights on the road away from your family and, all the other things that come along with being an NHL coach. I'm pretty sure if you're Rick Tocchet, you want to go to a team that's pretty close to ready to win.
no, absolutely. I mean, well, I'll tell you personally, from like I said, from things that I've heard, he is coming, um, and it's going to be something of the nature of, you know, well, he's the most sought out coach that they're looking at, and it's to the point it does help the culture. But I mean, so say Rick Tocchet does come, do you let him do a coach as Rick Tocchet, or are you going to control him? I think Rick Tocchet would be good for the team. I think he'd be a good coach for this group of players that'll be left if the trade deadline does what I would want it to do. I think he would be the coach that could actually shape it up. I mean, but in reality, you got to think he went to Arizona, so why wouldn't he come to Philadelphia?
True.
That's kind of where I'm taking it to. I mean,
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's kind of a trump card there. I don't really have a whole lot to say after that. I mean, like you said, he went to that dumpster fire in Arizona. But in all fairness, they had just made the trade for Phil Kessel, and they thought, maybe
Phil
we got a
doesn't give a
shot
shit,
here.
dude. Phil don't give a. Phil just wants to play hockey, get paid for, and go home. He doesn't care.
Oh, don't forget, he wants to eat hot dogs in the press box if he's a health bomb.
Did you actually hear that? That's actually not true.
Really?
He actually does not even eat hot dogs at all.
I'm actually really surprised at that because if there's one guy in the NHL that I would peg like the winner of like a dad bod contest, I think I'm going. I think I'm going Kessel all day long.
No, absolutely. I mean, Kevin Hayes kind of has that thing going on, like kind of that like Luffy guy, like not like
Ah,
rip
yeah.
rip to shreds. He's got the I think he's kind of got that going on as well.
Let's see. Jess is checking in here. She says, "I said it last week. We're not going anywhere. Use this time to experiment. It's not going to hurt anything." Like we were talking about earlier. Yeah, I can't agree more. Kind of get an idea what you have in some of these younger players and experiment. Bring some of these guys up so you kind of know where you're going in the future. Maybe certain prospects that are going to need a change of pace, a different environment. Maybe you could get some assets for those guys as opposed to just letting their rookie deals run out.
Yeah, I mean, do you think so? Let me ask you a question. Do you think they're tanking to get the first round draft pick?
I don't think it's an intentional tank, but I do think it'd be a pretty happy accident if it happened.
Shit, the love of having kids.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
um, I don't know if they're doing that, but I think there's a little bit of validity in them waiting out Claude Giroux, so he does waive his movement clause. I mean, he was the one that said that he's going to make his decision depending on how the team does this year. They're not doing good. So I mean, that's why the whole thing comes up with me. That's why I always say that what I've been saying about moving him for Johnny Hockey, or I think at one time I was kind of thinking about. It's messed up because the two players that I wanted to move to get during the season were Johnny Hockey and Tarasenko, and they fit into the bill, and now they're both like tearing it up. So like both teams don't want to get rid of them. So
Yeah, and when we were hotter earlier in the season, those Tarasenko rumors were starting to heat back up.
yeah, I think he kind of bluffed the Blues a little bit, and then when they did what he wanted them to do, they kind of you know pumped the brakes.
Yeah, now everybody's happy again.
But there's things about Johnny Hockey coming back and taking a hometown discount just to be close to home. So I mean, if you get Johnny Hockey cheap as shit, I mean it could happen. And weirder things have happened.
Hey, I wouldn't hate it. So I gotta ask, what's your thoughts on? We all know that Chuck Fletcher pushed all his chips into the middle of the table this year.
Mhm.
Um, some say it may have been ill advised. I wouldn't say it was ill advised. I would say maybe it was poor timing. I think maybe we might have been a year away from pushing all our chips into the middle of the table, especially coming off of the year that we did last year,
Right.
where we hadn't really seen success since that bubble year. And it was a lot of the same issues, and you really just kind of didn't know what you had moving forward. So to push all your chips into the center of the table, I feel was kind of irresponsible. And I don't necessarily think it was the way that Chuck wanted to play this thing either. So my question to you is, what do you think the level of involvement was from ownership? I've been a big proponent of, hey, this is their first year back with fans in the stands. Um, Lost a lot of money through COVID. Let's make a big splash this offseason, try and fill the seats, sell some season tickets, and recoup some of our losses here.
So you're asking if I think that the moves that he made were uh, pushed by upper management?
Yes.
I don't think so. I don't think upper management knows shit about hockey.
Well, I don't necessarily think that they came down and said, "Hey, trade for a top four defenseman,"
Yeah.
but I
So
think
you
they
think
might
that
have
they
said,
decided the names?
no, I don't think they decided the names. I think they might have came down and just said, "Hey, Chuck, we need you to make a big splash, make this
Oh,
offseason exciting. We
so
need
you
to
don't
sell
even
some
think
tickets."
it was in a certain direction? It was just like, hey, go do this and make a big splash so we can sell
Yeah,
some
that's
tickets
kind of what I'm thinking.
and not give a shit about what actually is going to happen.
Similar, kind of similar to the JVR signing by Hextall. Like you
Um,
can't tell me that they thought that was a move to to establish a winning culture. Like you can't tell me that they brought in JVR when they did to do anything other than sell tickets.
I don't. Well,
The same reason why they played Nolan Patrick as early as they did.
um, oh god, those are totally different subjects for me. The first thing with the splash, making a splash in the off season. Yeah, but what if it worked? I mean, look at what you got. I mean, I will say that there was a certain time where I'm like, okay, you guys are getting way too many people. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like when you're picking up Derek Brassard and you know when you got Nate Thompson, I was a huge advocate for, which but it can be
Oh yeah, I love
categorized
John Wick.
as right. Well, you could throw that in the category of why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I think there's some validity and go make a splash, but I think there had to be some bounds of let's actually take a look and see who's available. I mean, if you think about it logically, if Ryan Ellis didn't get hurt, we'd be in the playoffs right now, and that's a logical thing. I think you would have had. You can't blame Jones completely. I mean, I used to be an avid San Jose Sharks fan as well. And Jones drugged them to the final the year that they went up against believe it was the Penguins. Um, that happened. So like it's not like that never happened. He can be a good goalie. Our defense is shit. If we had Ryan Ellis teamed up with Provorov, which ended up being Provorov, the reason why they're probably going to sell him because he has to play with a complimentary player he can't play. Um,
Right, he's definitely a 1B at this point.
Right. I think I think that there's something into what you're saying there. But I mean, if it worked though, I mean, it would have been the biggest move that any team is. There's if you listen to any other podcast, it has nothing to do with the Flyers. Like I'll give Upshaw a shout out here. Missing curfew, spitting chicklets, dropping the gloves with John Scott. If you listen to any of them, when they talk about Philadelphia, they literally all said at the beginning of the season that they thought they were going to be number one in the Metro
No, for
because
sure.
of
And you
those
know what? I
moves.
I did too. I was very high on the moves this year as well. And I'm not criticizing them for that reason. I mean, like I said, I was very high on them as well. And like you said, if it worked, I mean, we'd all be singing Chuck Fletcher's praises right now.
Right. I don't think I don't, and I say this, and I'm very, very, very blunt and very avid on social media. So I am willing to debate anybody anytime. Was it Jesse from Delco is my personal Flyers Alley Pod one is my Flyers one. I think everybody are literally just out to bitch, just to complain. Everybody loved Chuck Fletcher when he made these moves. Um, Unfortunately, the Ryan Ellis one was the biggest mistake that he made because the dude was just literally an injured animal at this point, and he's played 3 games.
Right.
It's no good.
Right. Now I'll say this, like I said, it is he did make some quality moves, and if you look at them from the surface, obviously they didn't play out the way that we wanted them to, and I'm
Right.
not going to criticize him for that. Um, where was I going with that?
I think there's an absolute into what you were saying about upper management having something to do with it. I think upper management has a huge hand in the way the players are playing right now. There's definitely something going on.
Oh, for sure. Well, and when you look at, on social media, on across Twitter and stuff like that, when you see former Flyer players saying, "Hey, it seems like this team's missing something." When I was a Flyer and when Ed Snyder was alive and he would come down and win or loss, shake everybody's hand in the locker
Hmm.
room after games. Now, I'm not saying that you need an ownership to do that, but you definitely need it to be a little bit more personable, and it can't be a corporation. Now, as far
They
as
need to be
Chuck
relevant.
Fletcher and the moves that he made this year, I do think that he did a solid enough job by not giving up too much for what he did bring in. At the end of the day, it was still relatively low risk.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look at some of the moves and other moves that he made, some are good. Like look at Cam Atkinson. That is you can't. That's a top notch trade. That's a blockbuster trade.
Absolutely.
But then you look at
And I
you know
think that's a trade that's going to work for both teams too, because
yeah
from what I'm hearing, it looks like Columbus is ready to move off of Voracek's contract this year at the deadline,
yeah yeah. I mean,
and they're going to be able to do it pretty easily.
no, of course. I mean, that was premeditated. I mean, he did he wasn't working out here. Once you start yelling at the media, it's time. Happened to Ghost too,
Right. Exactly.
but it is what it is. We'll see what happens. I mean, there is a lot of hockey left, but life as a Flyers fan.
Absolutely. Well, Jesse, I cannot thank you enough for joining us. I know you got a little one that's got to get down to bed, and I know you wanted to spend some time with him
Two,
before that.
two.
Oh, there we go. We got two little ones got to get to bed. So Jesse, thank you so much for coming on. Can't wait to check out the Ice Wars. And for everybody listening, if you wanted to check that out, go ahead and give them a follow over on Twitter at Ice Is War on Twitter. For all of your Ice Wars content, go ahead and hit the notification bell too. That way you're up to date on everything. Don't forget to follow Jesse at Jesse from Delco. Old City Sports at old_sports. That's old with an E. And don't forget to check out the Flyers Alley podcast wherever you get your podcast. Jesse, thank you so much for coming on, brother. You got any final thoughts before you go?
Uh, Everybody lighten up on the team. That's all I have to say. But I actually would like to plug the thing that we have going on a Saturday. I did just get
Yes,
a
can't
message.
wait for that.
I just got a message from a couple people canceling because apparently there's a nor'easter coming through. Didn't know that. I will still be there, so it doesn't matter. The game will still be on. Iceworks in Aston, Pennsylvania. Uh, the mayor of John Street. I believe Cameron from Fly Guys. Myself and Frankie James from he actually our other shows airing tonight. The Streets of Philadelphia. Definitely check that out. If the intro video doesn't give you goosebumps, you're not from Pennsylvania. Um, we're all going to be at Iceworks. We're going to be doing a pregame, first intermission, second intermission, post game. We're just going to be drinking beer, hanging out, doing lives, covering this stuff. We're just pretty much celebrating us all getting together, and maybe we'll have someone pop through. Maybe we'll get Bile Alice to come through or something like that. But it's going to be a good time. Starts at 1:00. Game's on at 1:00 versus the LA Kings. So hopefully we get a win out of that. But other than that, yeah, everybody go check out Ice Wars.
Absolutely. Check out Ice Wars.
Go
If you're
his
not doing
fucking
anything
raffle
next
tickets
Saturday,
in.
make sure you come out to Iceworks. Come see myself, the Admiral, and Frankie James, as well as Cameron from Fly Guys Podcast. Jesse, thanks so much for coming on, brother.
Hey man, thank you for having me.
Wow, what a treat, guys. Jesse Bell. Thank you so much for Jesse for coming on. Once again, don't forget to come out to Iceworks in Aston on Saturday. I'll be out there on the panel along with those other distinguished gentlemen. I don't really have a whole lot else for you. Me and Kevin are going to be back with another show, I believe, tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that live stream. Available once again wherever you get your podcasts, as well as live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. That's youtube.com/John Street Hockey. Facebook.com/John Street Hockey, on Twitter at John Street Hockey. That's at John ST Hockey. Don't forget to check out all of our awesome sponsors. We didn't throw any ad reads into the middle of this one. We wanted to really get down to the meat and potatoes with Jesse. So this podcast was brought to you ad free by Norse Beards, Norse beards.com. Use the promo code John. Get yourself 10% off your entire order. Neshaminy Creek Brewing Company, home of the official beer of John Street, the ice cold John, JAWN beer. Absolutely delicious official beer of John Street. Check out that as well as all the other wonderful offerings from the Neshaminy Creek Brewing Company. Hubba Hubba Hoagies, the only hoagies that make you say hubba hubba on Woodburn Road in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, right around the corner from the Oxford Valley Mall. And last but not least, Pike's Pub on 2nd Street Pike, Pike Plaza, Southampton, Pennsylvania, home of the coldest beers in Southampton, and home of the John Street Hockey Podcast once a month as we do our live watch parties, giveaways, and we just drink beer and say stupid stuff into a microphone for your entertainment. I am the mayor of John Street. This has been John Street Hockey. I appreciate the hell out of everybody checking in. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube Live. I'm out.